It was a cold evening in November 2015. The quiet neighborhood of Willow Street looked just like any other peaceful American suburb. Children had finished playing outside. Lights slowly turned on inside the houses. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But inside house number 214, something terrible was about to happen. Something that would shock the entire community. Because by the next morning, one person would be dead, and the truth behind what happened that night would take months to uncover. "32-year-old Laura Bennett was known by everyone in the neighborhood. She worked as a school teacher. Friends described her as patient, caring, and deeply devoted to her students. Laura had recently moved into the house on Willow Street after a difficult divorce. She wanted a fresh start, a quiet life. Every day she followed the same routine. Wake up early. Drive to the school where she taught. Return home around 6 p.m. Neighbors often saw her watering plants in the yard or walking her dog in the evening. Nothing about Laura's life suggested danger. But sometimes, danger hides where no one expects it. On November 18th, Laura returned home from work around 6:15 p.m. She called her sister shortly after. The conversation lasted nearly 30 minutes. They talked about Thanksgiving plans and family visits. Laura sounded normal, calm, happy. That call would be the last time anyone heard her voice. Around 9:30 p.m., a neighbor noticed Laura's porch light turning on. Moments later, someone walked toward the front door. Security cameras from across the street captured a shadowy figure approaching the house, but the person's face couldn't be seen clearly. The door opened, the figure entered, and then, the camera recorded nothing else. The next morning, Laura didn't show up for work. At first, her co-workers assumed she might be sick, but by noon, concerns started to grow. Laura was never late. Her school principal called her phone multiple times, no answer. Eventually, police were asked to perform a welfare check. When officers arrived at the house on Willow Street, the front door was slightly open. Inside, the scene was disturbing. Furniture had been overturned. A lamp lay broken on the floor. And in the living room, Laura Bennett was found unresponsive. The quiet suburban home had suddenly become a crime scene. Detectives quickly began searching for clues. There were clear signs of a struggle, but something puzzled investigators. There were no signs of forced entry. That meant Laura likely knew the person who came to her door. Investigators examined fingerprints around the house. They also collected security footage from nearby homes. That footage revealed something important. A dark SUV had been parked down the street around the time of the incident, and shortly after midnight, it drove away. Police now had their first real lead. The vehicle was eventually traced to Ryan Cole, a 38-year-old contractor. Ryan had done repair work at Laura's house several weeks earlier. According to neighbors, he had visited the property multiple times. When detectives questioned Ryan, he insisted he had nothing to do with the crime. He claimed he hadn't seen Laura since finishing the repair work. But investigators soon discovered something troubling. Phone records showed Ryan had been near Willow Street that night. Even more suspicious, his fingerprints were found on Laura's front door. The investigation was closing in. After hours of questioning, Ryan's story began to collapse. Detectives confronted him with the evidence. Slowly, the truth started to emerge. Ryan admitted he had returned to Laura's house late that night. He claimed he wanted to discuss additional repair work, but the conversation quickly turned tense. An argument broke out. What happened next would end Laura Bennett's life. The quiet home on Willow Street had witnessed a moment of uncontrolled violence. Ryan Cole was later arrested and charged with murder. In court, the evidence was overwhelming. He was sentenced to life in prison. For Laura's family, the loss was devastating. For the neighborhood, the crime shattered the sense of safety they once felt. Because sometimes, the most dangerous moments don't happen in dark alleys or dangerous cities. Sometimes, they happen inside the quietest homes, on the calmest streets, and behind doors that once felt completely safe.